Alrighty, hey. Okay, so the first thing I want to say to you guys about this activity is I'm being a little experimental here. I'm trying something that I think will give you a really cool experience. I hope it will. Every now and then the wheels fall off these things, so I just want to assure you at the outset. There's 4 marks associated with this activity. I know that's like a letter grade that can sort of have emotional value for you guys. I am not looking to be tough when it comes to these 4%. What I really would love you just to do is to try to buy in, do your best. Of course, there's the cool prize of literally being able to impact e-learning in Ontario, which I think is cool. So that's where I hope the real motivation for you to do good work comes from. I'd like you just to, but the minimum is to go through the paces and try your best as you do this. And if anything should go wrong or there's any problems along the way, it's kind of on me on this one for trying something new, and I will get the train back on the rails one way or the other. And if I end up messing with you at all in order to do that, I will make sure that you're not negatively punished in terms of grades. And in fact, if I mess you up, I'll make sure that you guys get grades whether you deserve it or not if I screw anything up here. But it could work out really, really cool, and that's the hope. So here's the idea. You guys are first year students. You've had a weird year. I understand that. But I still want you to kind of get into this idea of what you can do with your education and why some of the things you're learning is so relevant. And I want you to see purpose in some of the things we're asking you to do. So you've watched that video and you've now seen, these are real people in the real Ontario government that are really looking at e-learning and how they can make it better. And they don't generally talk to people like you. And what I mean by you is you are interesting in 2 distinct ways. One, you've gone through the current e-learning experience, or at least many of you have. And you're going through e-learning experiences here at UTSC. So you really have a student perspective that's super, super valuable because you are the end user of e-learners, right? You represent them. And so I want you to kind of see that as part of the voice you have. You've also, spent some time in this class learning the science of learning. You've been investigating experiments around various learning processes, some of which you've looked into yourself, some of which you've learned about while reviewing your peers. And in fact, given there's 4 of you in the group here, there's at least 4 things you should know about in some depth, and upwards of another 20 things that you read about. Maybe some of them you thought, wow, that sounds interesting. That sounds pretty cool. And so what I want you guys to imagine is you are a research consulting company of 4, and there are companies of 4. The company behind Peer Scholar is not much bigger than that. And so imagine you're a company and the Ontario government has just reached out to you, those individuals you just saw, and okay, they're not going to pay you, which they normally would, but imagine, they develop a relationship with you and they say, here's what we would really love. We would love it if you guys would from your experience as learners and also everything you've learned about educational practices, everything you've experienced maybe in this course and other courses, can you identify some things that are really good? Some things that you think could be important, positive aspects of e-learning. And remember, we had all those categories, but you can now kind of go with this any way you want. And so step 1 is really you guys starting to talk to one another. And so here's why I'm making you do group work. You've chosen to do group work. Thank you. Here's why I'm happy about that. But a big part of this activity will be you guys all talking to one another. And I won't see that very much, right? I'm really going to see the output of the work. But like almost all work, the output is good when the collaboration that went into it is good. And so I want you guys to start collaborating with one another. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do that, by the way. The interface within Peer Scholar, when you guys log into the create phase, if we've done everything right, it will be sort of like a Google Doc kind of interface. It'll be a shared interface. And so, first of all, you can leave notes to each other there. You can, have some, part where you just talk to one another or leave little notes about what you've done when you've done it. So you can get some interaction there. I believe you also have access to each other's email addresses. So maybe you want to start a little email group or, link up on WhatsApp or something like that, Slack, whatever you might use. and talk to each other. That's part of this activity, and what I would recommend, I suggest below, your first step is going to be to vote a captain. Should we call him a captain, or him or her a captain? Maybe we should call them a team leader. Let's call them a team leader. That makes sense. And so that's your team leader. Your team leader is going to have a little bit of extra work to do than the rest of you. Your team leader will be the one ultimately responsible for submitting your work when you all agree it's done. And the team worker, as I suggest below, may also become a sort of a cat herder, in the sense that they might be the one reaching out to you guys saying, hey guys, we've only got 2 days till submit time, and so-and-so, you still need to do X and whatever. And so, if you're going to be that team leader, you're going to get a taste of sort of management level responsibilities. It will be up to you to kind of manage your team and make sure this activity gets in. So what is this thing you're going to do together? Well, what I'd love you to do is a pitch, in a sense. So, imagine they hired you, you guys all get together, and what you're going to try to do is, again, really try to specify, maybe in a nice, well, this is where your creativity and stuff is going to come in. I'm going to leave it largely up to you how to create a compelling pitch. But what that pitch should include is some components, maybe some things that you think they could do to enhance engagement, maybe some things you think they could do to enhance skill development, all those kinds of things we talked about to help students get a deeper understanding, to include parents more, whatever you felt when you encountered these ideas, whatever you felt, that was really good. That should be part of the future of e-learning. And you don't want to include all of the 25 things, or more that you guys have been in contact with. You want to boil it down to a list of about 3 or 4 things. That's what I would suggest. So there's like 4 of you. Imagine you each are going to take one part, but you want those 4 parts to hang together too, because you want to give them a sense of, here we are as your consulting company, and we've come up with 4. Let's just do it that way. We've come up with 4 characteristics, or 4 things, 4 learning processes or practices. I want to keep it very general. I want to give you flexibility. But these are things I think you guys should look into more and have part and consider as having part of your e-learning. And for each of these components, I'll start calling them components now. 4 components. Give them a bit of sense of why you think it's a good idea. So what I mean by that is, what problem will this help solve? How will it make e-learning better if they do that, if they include that component? And if you have some science to back that up, point to that too. We like educational practices to be evidence-based. We like to know that we're putting things into public education that have a science behind them, that have a validity behind them. So if you can include a little bit of that. So this is the ultimate task now for each of you. So you're going to have to coordinate to figure out how your parts will fit together. But for each of your parts, imagine you are going to, take that part, that will be your component. You are going to tell them what that component is. You're going to tell them the value that you think that component will add. And if there's any science behind it, you will let them know as briefly and efficiently as possible what that science is. And in this case, it's not like a summary like you did in Peer Scholar 1. So you don't have to say the independent variable was, the dependent variable was, the theory was. You can just say, there's a paper that's shown clearly that students who experience this tend to do 2% better on a test, or something like that. So you can boil it down in a more publicly digestible way. But maybe even, mention a paper by so-and-so and so-and-so, 1920, holy crud, maybe more like 2019 would be a better example, that backs this up. And so then what I would like, so imagine each of you are going to do a pitch on one component. And so ultimately your group project will include those 4 pitches. Cool, that'll be the heart. Now, what do I mean by these pitches? There's 2 ways I can see doing this. One I think is more compelling. The most compelling way, I think, would be for you to do almost what I'm doing here today. Use your phone. I actually don't have my phone within reach. That's really strange. Especially after telling you guys we always have our phone within reach every minute. I have no idea where my phone is. Oh no, I can't continue. I must go find my phone. No. I'm just kidding. But you can use your phone and take a little video of you pitching to your phone, and then put that on YouTube. And with the little camera link, once you have it on YouTube, get the URL from YouTube, and with the little camera link in the editor there, click on the camera, paste in the YouTube link, and you will see your video appear right there. So the ultimate project, I think, would have these 4 videos, and then dressed up with some text. And what do I mean by dressed up with some text? I would recommend, and this is where the leader, maybe takes the lead, or if there's somebody that's particularly good at doing this stuff, the leader designates some of this stuff. But I imagine a little bit of text at the top to kind of tell them what you're going to tell them. In a way, give them a sense. We're really excited to be working with you and have this opportunity to pitch to you what we consider 4 critical components of the future of e-learning. What follows will be 4 pitches by our team members, each highlighting one component that we think would be very important. After each does its pitch, we'll have a little summary at the end with references. And so that's what I would love to see. Intro paragraph, and think of it as a business communication. And by the way, those people on the video are going, if you're in the top 10, if your group is in the top 10, those people in the video are going to see this pitch from you. So make it professional. Practice your, put on your business pants when you do this, and try to be as professional as you can. And so have that little preamble at the beginning to kind of get them into what they're about to see. And then have the 4 pitches. Now you can, if you want, include at the beginning of each pitch a little bit of information about the pitcher, the person. The following pitch is by Jessica so-and-so, and she's a 2nd year chemical engineering student taking intro psych at University of Toronto Scarborough. And then you can have that. So if you want to introduce yourselves and your team members, that would often happen in a business practice, by the way. People would say who they are, and this is partly about networking. So get yourself out there, show your face, do your thing. And so imagine your pitches, maybe with a little intro, and then a little summary on the end. So in summary, the 4 components we're highlighting are X, Y, Z, and A. I had to go back to A. And we think these would be really critical, blah, blah, blah. We hope you like them, and etc. And whatever you choose, I hope the future of e-learning in Ontario is bright. I don't know, say something like that. Whatever you want to say at the end. But also, if you've referred to any research, and you should, then have a reference section at the end with that research. That would be the perfect, beautiful, final version of this that I'm seeing in my mind. Some of you don't like to have videos of yourself out there. I have 2 reactions to this. My first reaction is, get over it. That sounds nasty, and it sounds whatever. And I know that for some people, it's stressful to have the image of themselves out there doing something. But in the current world, it's a big part of success. Right? And all of those people from the government on that previous video, at first they were like, we're not sure we like students watching a video of us. We're not sure we want a video of us out there. They eventually agreed because they saw the value. I think if you have a video of you pitching, it will have more punch. You will put a human being to the idea, and I think that will make it more effective. That said, I don't want to scare you away from an activity you might otherwise like. So if you really, really don't want to do a video of you giving the pitch, then you can just write it in text. And in fact, it could end up being a mix of video pitches and text pitches, depending on who's pitching. And that's perfectly fine with me too. Okay. Yeah. So, that's your basic task. So let me just kind of summarize that really quickly. You get a team leader. The team leader is ultimately in charge of making sure everybody's, working on their part of the pitch. All of you together should first discuss via WhatsApp or via emails or however you want to do it. What are those 4 components? What are the components that you each want to work on? You probably, the ultimate pitch would have complementary components, things that aren't doing the same thing as each other, but maybe are hitting, learning in different ways and enhancing it in different ways. But that's up to you. I want you to literally think, what would most impress those people? And, what can our company, give your company a name, by the way. I think that'd be cool. We at so-and-so consulting. That'll have fun with it. Have fun with this. This is meant to be fun. But yeah, so the team leader will get you all together. You'll eventually build those things within this same one doc, and then the team leader will save and submit. Dum-da-dum-dum. What happens then? Well, I don't know how many people will choose to do this group project the way you did. So I don't know how many groups you will be competing against. And at the most, it will be 400 groups of 4 people. It won't be 400. A lot of people don't like group work, and they'll go running away screaming as they see this. So it could be a smaller number. You will, in the next step, be asked to assess the work from other groups. And in the second step, I'm just going to ask you to work as individuals. So the group work is only step 1. Second step, you log in. You will see, let me just pick this out. Let me say you will see 5 other group pitches. And I'm going to give you a scoring form. There will be a form along the side that you have to fill out a bunch of information about your reaction to those pitches. And so every pitch, including yours, will ultimately be assessed by 5 peers. Now, I really want you guys to do this, really as you're not trying to sink the other teams. You're not trying to beat the other teams. Yes, you hope you win, but I want you to do a really fair and honest assessment of the qualities. And in fact, I'll have a video at that part to kind of describe a little better what I mean by that. And then what we're going to end up with is a top 10 based on the scores the pitches get. We'll get the top 10 pitches. Those 10, you can all log in to Reflect, and you can all see the feedback that your pitch got. And that'll be available to you. And you won't have to do anything in Reflect, so it'll just be a chance for you to see the feedback. But those who are the top 10, I'll let you know right away. You can then look at the feedback you received and either submit your original pitch as is, and so we're going to submit that to as your revision, and that will ultimately go to the people in Ontario government, or you can still modify at that point. So you're going to have by then a ton of feedback. I have to warn you. In fact, my one worry is what your Reflect phase will look like, because there could be so many peer tabs. The way the math will work, it'll be 5, 4 by 5. You could have 20 peer tabs, 20 bits of feedback, from each member of 5 different groups, and each one of them has 4. So you could have 20 bits of feedback. So you can look through that feedback. Part of what I'm going to ask them to do is give you ideas about how your pitch could be even better. So look at that bit of feedback, see if there's anything you agree with, and decide whether you want to improve your pitch for final submission or not. Again, only the top 10 needs to worry about this, but those top 10 can then, if they want, submit a revised version, or just let the original one be submitted, submit that in Reflect, and that's the one that's going to go on to the people you just met, and they're going to pick the top 3 from there. Okay, there is one more step in your project, which is a new feature that we've added to group work, which is this. As a last step, you will be asked to rate the relative contributions of your fellow group mates to this project. I'm not going to get real fancy with this. I may even just ask you a question or 2. And one of the questions might be, was this group member completely useless? Because as long as you're not completely useless, as long as you tried and submitted your part and helped, then you're probably going to get all the marks. If you go through all the steps, you'll get 4 out of 4. If you help with your group submission, and if you assess during the assess phase the other groups, and if we are going to have TAs look at how you do that to make sure you've done it with a certain level of thought. But if you put some decent thought into it, if it looks like you took the task seriously, then you'll probably get 4 out of 4. But I will be looking at those group membership evaluations. And if you have like a couple people on your team saying you were a bum, you didn't do anything, then you won't get 4 out of 4. I'll make a call on what you get. And if it's that you did nothing, then you'll get a 0 out of 4. If you kind of half-heartedly did something, well, then I'll decide. So just be aware of that at the outset. Please contribute to the group. Do something. You will learn a lot. You will start to be working on these collaboration skills, and that's really important. Okay, there you go. I know it's a little complex. It's a little real world, and that's the idea. It is real world. You are a consulting company. The ideas you have could change the future of e-learning, which could involve family members of yours. It could involve your own sons and daughters at some point. You don't know. Cool opportunity. Kind of take it as a chance of pretending this was your career and treating it like a little project you're all working on. And yeah, if you can really nail it, you can be in the top 10, and that would be very cool. Alrighty, so I'm going to leave you with that. I've had to kind of create this all in my mind as we're going. I hope it ends up being a great experience. I may have some questions at the very end, just for me, asking what you thought of it and getting some feedback on the whole experience from your side. But I hope you take it seriously. I hope you jump into it, and yeah, have fun with it. That's what I hope more than anything. Okay, all right, shut up now. See you guys. Bye-bye.